The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Jess De Los Santos. Former President Joseph Estrada has been battling pneumonia due to COVID-19 in a hospital for 10 days now. News 5's Mean Los Baños spoke to former Senator Jinggoy Estrada regarding that. Mean, how is former President Erap doing now?
Hi Jess, good afternoon. Former Senator Jinggoy Estrada said that his father is now stable but remains to be in critical condition. In an earlier interview with News 5, Jinggoy said Erap is still at the ICU and is being sedated. He explained that every time his father wakes up, he gets agitated and tries to take off the apparatus from his body. The former senator said that although Erap is in critical condition, he is stable as his vital signs have been back to normal. Jinggoy told us that they're still uncertain as to where and how Erap contracted COVID-19. He said it could be from one of their Sunday reunions where they invite family and some close friends to their house. Although strictly just for them, Jinggoy admitted that his father sometimes do not wear a face mask. It was 2 weeks ago when he noticed that Erap was weak and unusually quiet during their get-together. The oxygen level of the former president then dropped to 87 from a normal rate of 96 to 100. Their family doctor told them to immediately send him to the emergency room and seek confinement. But because hospitals were congested, they too had to wait for hours before they could be admitted to the ER. And a few more hours before they were able to secure a hospital room for Erap's confinement. Jinggoy recounted that his father became a little better after a respirator was attached to him. But a week after, his pneumonia worsened, and that's when the doctor suggested that he be brought to the ICU. Let's hear more, Jess, from former Senator Jinggoy Estrada.
Tinanong ko muna sa doktor, Doc, is there any other option aside from intubation? There's none. What if we do not allow him to be intubated? At sabi ng doktor, he will not last. So doon, ninervous na ako. So I had no choice. Okay, we have to do it now. Tumama sa kanya severe COVID pneumonia.
Just the Estrada family is hoping that Erap will get better soon, as he's about to celebrate his 84th birthday this coming April 19. They're also seeking prayers from the public for the recovery of the former president. Jess?
All right, thank you very much for those updates, Mean Los Baños. Some local governments in areas under a stricter quarantine status have started distributing cash aid to low-income families. But it's not a smooth start, at least in one barangay in Parañaque City. JC Cosico has a story.
Some 100 residents of Barangay Vitales in Parañaque City are set to receive their so-called ECQ ayuda from the government. But some beneficiaries like Vivian Pacano are experiencing hiccups early on.
Pumunta daw dito ng 8 a.m. Basta 11 p.m. sila tumawag eh. Tapos dalhin lang daw yung birth certificate tsaka 3 kopya ng ID.
Karating mo dito?
Wala po yung name ko sa listahan.
Pacano, a single mother of 2, is among those who recently lost their jobs following the reimposition of ECQ. Parañaque City is supposed to distribute a total of 604 million pesos in cash assistance for the 2-week ECQ.
Mas kailangan po ng tao yung pera kasi iba-iba yung pangangailangan, pambili ng gamot, pambili ng diaper, pambili ng grocery. Ayanan natin yung tao kung ano yung pangangailangan niya para magamit yung cash.
The Social Welfare Department says most LGUs prefer cash than in-kind assistance.
Unang-una, mas mabilis ibigay yung cash amount kaysa sa pag-in-kind kasi alam naman natin meron mga procurement system yan, may mga proseso.
LGUs have been given 15 days to distribute cash aid and 30 days for in-kind assistance. The DSWD says LGUs can request for an extension, but their reasons must be justified. The Interior Department, for its part, has once again warned local officials against misusing the funds.
They must comply with the requirements of the Department of Budget and Management and the Joint Memorandum Circular of the DILG and the DSWD. So, pag nangyari po yan, we will file a show cause order against them.
The DILG has created joint monitoring and inspection teams to attend to financial aid-related complaints and grievances. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
Here are the other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The Health Department reiterates that the distribution and promotion of anti-parasitic drug ivermectin is against the law. Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere says violators may face jail time or a fine of up to 5 million pesos. This comes as Congressman Mike Defensor and other personalities went under fire for promoting the cheap drug, which has not been authorized as a treatment for COVID-19. Malacanang says President Duterte won't be holding a public address this week due to the rise in active COVID-19 cases. The chief executive was last seen by the public during a televised meeting last March 29. The Foreign Affairs Department says more than 16,000 OFWs have tested positive for COVID-19, with 12 new cases reported today. The DFA also logged 5 recoveries and 1 death on Wednesday. We've heard famous vaccine brands like Pfizer and Moderna being called mRNA vaccines by health officials. Some experts say this type of vaccine is relatively new and is fairly different from traditional jabs. But how exactly do messenger RNA vaccines work, and are they safe for use? Bloomberg senior health reporter Robert Langreth gives us the answers and debunks disinformation in this report.
Messenger RNA vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna have been shown to be highly effective in preventing COVID-19. But this technology is very new, and that's made them extremely vulnerable to disinformation campaigns. These include a false worry or a false belief that the mRNA vaccines could somehow alter your DNA. So, are mRNA vaccines actually risky? These are the facts that you need to know. So what are mRNA vaccines, and how do they differ from traditional vaccines? Instead of introducing into the body a weakened version of a virus or a piece of a virus, they temporarily turn the body's cells into tiny vaccine-making factories. So how do they do this? Well, what they use is synthesized versions of something called messenger RNA. Now, that's a molecule that normally carries genetic coding from our DNA in the nucleus to the body's protein-making machinery. But what happens here with the vaccines, mRNA, once introduced in the body, instructs the body to make the spike protein, which is a key protein that the SARS-CoV-2 virus uses to enter cells. And now this, in turn, stimulates the body to make long-lasting antibodies to the coronavirus. Messenger RNA vaccines are quicker to develop than traditional ones because production doesn't require growing live viruses or viral proteins inside live cells. Also, messenger RNA's modular nature makes designing vaccines relatively straightforward. In the case of Moderna's vaccine, it took only a few days for researchers to come up with the messenger RNA sequence that is used in the actual vaccine. So what type of disinformation is actually being spread about mRNA vaccines? Well, one thing that that's out there a lot is that steps were somehow skipped in developing and authorizing the vaccines. Now, it's true that these vaccines reached the market in absolutely record time. But that's actually not because any testing steps were skipped. Basically, companies were able to speed up the process by performing some testing steps in parallel. And in addition, especially in the case of Moderna's vaccine, the U.S. government took big financial risks by paying to gear up manufacturing well before the results were in. And in fact, even with the emergency use authorization of these vaccines, the FDA actually established strict guidelines in advance for what they'd be required to get emergency approval. And the vaccines went through full phase 3 trials with 30,000 patients, at least that many or more. And they were required to show more than 50% efficacy in preventing symptomatic disease. And the 2 messenger RNA vaccines easily outperformed that standard. And they were also required to show, 2 months of safety follow-up from their phase 3 trials.
For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News.